There we go. We've collected some armored crates. Now we have to collect some spades from rotting fodders. And if I had membership from the start, I would have stacked this quest too. I would have stacked the quest from all of them and done them all at once. But you know what? I just have to deal with it. I just gotta suck it up. And so do you. You have to suck it up too. I've rarely fizzled with these spells, so it shouldn't be too difficult. There we go. Collected one spade. Doesn't matter because we got in a battle when we were supposed to. Guess it doesn't matter. I guess Penny Dreadful doesn't leave the area anymore. I thought she goes back to Wizard City. I guess not in the new quest line. But this is where the story starts to go back to the way it was pre-2019 update. And you see, we're trying to pass and make things go faster instead of using 0 rank spells. We may get a little bit less XP every single duel, but this makes things go faster than before. And there we go, that's the 3rd spade, I hope. And yes, it is. The 3rd spade has been collected. So we're gonna go back to Rand Tamor. Or we're gonna go back to Emerson first, because that is the person that gave us the Armored Crates quest. Yeah, and in this episode we're going to defeat Ius Maximus, and we're also going to defeat... Who is it? We're going to defeat the Legionnaire.
Excellent.
I can't
this
remember.
armor will help us protect the people. Cyclops Legion doesn't know when to quit. They attack anyone and use our weapons to do it. Battle the Cyclops soldiers and reclaim our weapons. Maybe they'll get the message that the war's over.
But anything we see on the ground, we should go and get. So we're gonna get this gold and wood and everything we need.
Thank you very much. The metal from those spades is very strong and will work well for armor. Now, I'll need to make some plate armor for him. I can make it out of the skeletal warrior's armor. Not like they need it, eh? Collect some and I will modify it for Private Sweeney.
Okay, we will do that, but before we do that, I can't remember the Cyclops leader's name. Why can't I do... I really am drawing a blank on this. How do I know the second boss and not the first one? Oh well.
What do you want?
Professor Drake sneers at the ransom note.
Here. Take this message to Victor Darkwood, the robe shopkeeper. Be quick about it. Time is of the essence here.
So now we have to go and do Professor Drake's laundry, because he can't just do it himself. Dickhead.
Ah, a message from Professor Drake. Yes, I've been expecting you. You'll need to hurry back with this.
The shopkeeper retrieves a large sack and hands it to you.
Here you go. Professor Drake's laundry, freshly cleaned and pressed. And don't let it drag on the pavement now.
Right, then we go back home. We back out, and then we go back to Professor Drake. Yeah.
That certainly took you long enough.
Professor Drake shakes his head at you.
You're still worried about those missing students? Yes, well, this is definitely a problem. Take this message to the headmaster. That should resolve things to my satisfaction.
And, we'll see Cyrus is a massive dickhead.
Ah, young wizard, it's good to see you. You have a note for me. Let's see it.
The headmaster reads Professor Drake's note.
I will not expel you from the Ravenwood School of Magical Arts, regardless of what Professor Drake thinks of you. You are not responsible for the problems on Cyclops Lane. General Achilles and his men
Aius
promised
Maximus
to
and
drive out the
General
trolls.
Achilles.
Now, Achilles has gone back on his word. I fear there is something more sinister behind Achilles' change of heart. This M is to blame. We will need to know more. Drake is of no use here, but you have been most helpful. Go back to Nolan Stormgate and help him straighten this out. Speaking of issues concerning Malastair, one of his favorite students, a boy named Duncan Grimwater, has been tackling a ghost problem over on Triton Avenue. Can you inquire as to whether he has heard anything from his old professor? We need to know if Malastair has been contacting former students.
Maybe we won't get to defeating Aius Maximus or anything in this episode. Maybe not. Because this is the Sylvia Drake questline, how we figure out about a scrapbook and about Sylvia's friend Gloria Crendel. So let's go collect that. We'll have to defeat Sargent Skullsplitter in order to acquire what we need.
So, the headmaster's still worried about Malastair. If you ask me, I think Ambrose needs to quit blaming Malastair every time something goes wrong in Wizard City. Malastair Drake was such an inspiring professor. Most consider him to be the greatest necromancer of our time.
This is
He
the
understood
old
life's
story
limitations and
contradicting
strove
the
to
new
face
one.
them unafraid. Ambrose has suggested for me to stop practicing the death arts. He even suggested I give life a try. Ha! But I keep studying on my own. Maybe one day I will be as powerful as Malastair. If you want to find out more about Malastair, maybe you should talk to an old friend of his wife. You have heard what happened to Malastair's wife, right? No? Oh, if you're interested, go talk to Gloria Crendel in Old Town and ask her about Sylvia Drake. Those two women were close. She could tell you more.
You want to ask me about Malastair's wife, Sylvia? Oh my, yes. I knew her very well. She taught the life magic class before Moolinda Wu. I sure miss her. What happened to her was such a shame, poor dear.
Madame Crendel becomes forlorn as she relives the sad memories.
Say, there is something you can do for me, child. Would you go find the scrapbook Sylvia and I made together? It'd mean a lot to me to have it back. I'm not sure how, but Sargent Skullsplitter has it. Could you go to his tower on Triton Avenue and get it back for me?
Alright, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to get back the book for her. And there will be a Scarlet Screamer and Skull Splitter there. It shouldn't be too much trouble. It really, really should not be that much trouble. I mean, especially if you have pixies. If you're a part of the death school, you might want to get some of the opposite school spells, which is life, and get up to leprechaun. Because at level 12 you can buy back...
So you've come for the scrapbook that belonged to Malistair's wife, eh? Pity she caught that cold and died. Well, I won't allow you to have it. I will deny him any kindness after what he denied me in life. As for you, wizard, prepare to join the ranks of the undead and serve me.
So, what was I saying? As I was saying, leprechaun spell. If you're of the death school, get the leprechaun spell. And then, it's only 2 pips to cast, just like ghoul. And it boosts, because it's the opposite school. So death is weak against life and vice versa. So it's the same thing for storm and myth. It's the same thing with fire and ice. They're both opposites. So the same goes for balance in a different way. Balance often has boost, like, is weak against life and death a lot of the time, and sometimes myth, which is strange. I have no idea why that's the case, but it is. So when you get the leprechaun spell and then you're like, I don't want to do life anymore, once you get to level 12, you'll get to the point where you eventually get prism, and prisms convert one spell to another type. So life and death will flip, and then it will boost and convert to a different type. So once you get that, you no longer have a need to use a leprechaun spell, so then you can buy back with Mr. Lincoln without using crowns at the very beginning. So that's just something to know, something useful. But for balance, since it's balanced out, you don't really need a prism, because you have elemental types, and if you can't use your balance spells to use for balance specifically, you can use it to use the elemental spells, like with Hydra or Spectral Blast, which in the next world we'll start getting into more of the abilities that Balance School has, because it's pretty unique the way that it does it. So right now, we're just having an easygoing battle. We're just using the wand hit and then Scorpion over and over and over, and that's what this game is a lot of, just repetition. And if he continues to fizzle on spells like that, there's no need to worry about anything. It's not best to discard in battles like this, especially with a beginner's deck. Probably best not to do that. So we're going to use the Scorpion one last time, and if it fizzles, which it didn't, we should be good. And there is no book. There's nothing there to collect. So we don't need to worry about anything with that. So we're gonna go back to the commons, and when you go back to the commons from here, it will give you a certain amount of time for a normal dungeon to go back in. So you can go back in to collect all the stuff. Or, I mean, if you forgot something, or if you're about to die, something like that. But for bigger dungeons, it'll be like 30 minutes to an hour of time to go back in before the whole dungeon resets.
You were able to get the scrapbook from Sargent Skullsplitter? Oh, good. I was so afraid it was lost forever. It contains all my memories of Sylvia.
Madame Crindle begins to thumb through the old scrapbook.
Now, let's see. Ah, yes. Sylvia had such a wonderful laugh. It was so sad when she got sick. She got a nasty cold and wouldn't get better. They tried everything to heal her, but nothing worked. Imagine the greatest life professor being struck down like that. She was dying, and that was that. Poor Malastair couldn't stand it. It broke his heart having to let her go. He was never the same afterwards. He withdrew from his colleagues, even from his brother Cyrus. Well, thanks for bringing the scrapbook back to me, child. I am forever grateful.
Well, I wasn't expecting Professor Drake to leave everything to us. He must really trust me. Professor Drake is expecting big things. The Cyclops General Achilles wrote the note, so we need to reach his keep. But to do that, we need a gate pass. Maybe... Can you steal one from the Warhorns? All you have to do is defeat some. Yeah, that should be easy enough.
Ah, you brought me a bunch of weapons. That means fewer Cyclops fighting in the streets. Aha! Ius Maximus, second in command of the Cyclops Legion, has been urging them to fight on. Maximus wields the Thunder Hammer, a weapon that strikes with the power of a thunderbolt. His lair's further down the lane. Stop him from fighting and the rest of the Legion should follow. Will you bring the hammer to me?
Where? So there's no need to turn anything in on that front. So we're gonna pause, and on the next episode, we defeated Skullsplitter this episode. On the next episode, we'll defeat Warhorns, and then fight Achilles and Ius Maximus.